Let's go. Now we're going for our cybernetics, well, our gas, then cybernetics core. He's gonna cancel his hatchery. Let's go find out where that overlord is. Oh, he's gonna spot it, so oh well. Let him. He's gonna have to. Now we gotta make sure that, because he's gonna go Nidus Worm. He just wants us to spend our money. So we're not exactly gonna spend our money. We're gonna make some zealots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 squares is what you need to do. He's gonna cancel it again. If he doesn't, then he loses the hatchery. Now we have the Zealot, and we're going for the Nidus Worm counter.
We stand as one.
We really don't want to. He's gonna cancel it. But we're gonna try to force him a little bit faster to cancel it. There goes the push.
Base is under attack. Your probes are under attack.
Job done. It's gonna hit us hard.
We are the blades of iron. Our pylon is under attack. On guides me. System. Our pylon is under attack.
They're trying to kill my pylons to deny my supply. We gotta take out this hatchery before it becomes a hatchery.
Prismatic core online. This vessel. Famous crystal charge. Annihilation commencing. Channel the light divider. Base is under attack. Was after all. We have full power. This vessel shall inflict. Channel the light divider. Zaknaku Afar. This vessel. Our pylon is under attack. Prismatic core online. Channel the light. Zak. This vessel shall invade. Ikuda. Process. More iron. Channel the light. Phase crystal charged. This vessel shall invade. Mineral field depleted. We are at full power. We are at full power. Phase crystal charged. Systems at full. Annihilate shadow. This vessel shall invade. Zaknaku Afar. Undercool block.
Dimensional strings attuned.
Want to separate your units? I'll show you don't separate your units.
It shall be done. We face the enemy.
We meet our fate. Oracle perceiving.
Phase crystals charged. Our pylon is under attack.
You seek guidance? Our fates are one. How can I aid you? An Erodine Rashagar. The stars light up an omen. Rise and fall.
All day, baby, all day.
We are the blades
What you got?
We are at full power.
Oracle perceiving. The threads of our window is short.
Well, yeah, I probably lost a lot of pounds. It's stacked up too. That's some smoke. That's that real dirty play. I'll explain everything. Every part of this build had everything figured out. Yoke flow. That's right, baby. We yoked. Best check my police record. It's just the year that training takes me to GSL. Uh, I have to be full time. I don't think I have the funds and all that. I don't have the overall ability to do that. I'm not young where I could just take a chance that much without the support that could really like make sure I'm not screwing my life over, in the long haul. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But I'm not like any rush. Sharing with you guys is just as enjoyable to me. All right. So here's the strategy. This one's complicated because there's a lot of layers in this build. So I'm gonna try to draw it. I'm gonna try to draw it all out. Okay. Let's see if I can draw it out as much as I could. How do you feel about your strats being stolen by so? Well, you know what? I expect that was gonna happen from different players. I just didn't think that they would not give me at least a little credit. But it is what it is. The reason why I didn't mind putting my videos on the Florencio files is because that opportunity that I had with Pig throwing my games into the Florencio files was that I'm able to share with you guys my builds before they steal them. And if I would not have put the Florencio files, or if I wouldn't have had the Florencio files, you know how many builds would have been stolen without anybody even knowing that it was my build or my style? Nobody would know. But the fact that I share all my builds to you guys, it allows you guys to see where the builds come from, and I feel emotionally okay that people don't just take all my hard work and try to take it as their own, even if it's the inspiration I give them, and then they figure it out from there. I kind of feel like I'm okay with that. The fact that Pig, Loco, and Winter allow me to like project my style out there, and you guys could, be like, oh yeah, that's Florencio's style, or that's, his strat. So that way it's like they can't just easily go, oh, that's my build. We know where it's coming from. But yeah, it is what it is. Like now everybody's using void raids. Now everybody's using the void raid plays. It was all oracles. It was double oracles all day, every day. Void raids were trash, they said. And I had my void raid builds. And now the meta is pretty much, double void raid into other stuff. So, yeah. Problem with your builds is their ladder builds. I mean, if no I'm playing you, I will be early in, cause no, that's the thing. You think that my builds are based on like blind countering. That's not true. My builds are more complex. You guys are just seeing like a snapshot of my play, but it's not a build order. Like, this is not technically a build order what this game was. This is knowledge. This is knowing the game, understanding what my opponent's going to have to do or what they could do, and encountering that in every step of the way, at least figuring out these builds. A build order, I would have lost if I did a build order, because a build order technically doesn't change very much. You usually stick to the build order and you try to win. If you don't win, you lose, pretty much. I, from the start, identify what I'm dealing with. I look at the hints and I react to it, and I constantly do that over and over and over and over and over again. It's not a build order at all. It's a strategy. It's real-time strategy. It's it's hard to explain. But yeah, a lot of people think that, oh, I know you, I can figure you out. Like, you know how many builds I have? I have a lot of builds. You can't just assume that you know what I'm gonna do. If I think that you know what I'm doing, I change it up. And I'm really good at that. I'm really good at changing it up. I have over 200 Florencio file episodes, and hardly any of them are redundant. There are a lot of them different. And so with that many builds or strategies or reactions, you can't just consider that a ladder build. It's not a ladder build. It's a strategy. Just because I do it in ladder versus the pro series doesn't make it any different. I don't think it makes any difference whether you do it in ladder or you do it in the. If you're good at it, you're good at it. It has no belonging in just one section. If it's a good build, it's a good build. As other people share build orders, yeah. I share strategy and thought process. I don't show you what to build and when to build it. I don't tell you how to memorize things. I tell you how to think. I tell you what I kind of like give you guys some thought-provoking questions where if it comes to you in the game, you'll be able to identify it and react in your own way without me saying, oh, this is what you got to do and you got to do it every time. That's not how it works. You just have to understand what's going on, and it's up to you to remember and make decisions. And I'm just giving you different pathways that you could try to do it as inspiration. But yeah, it's not a build order. I'll show you this build, and you can tell me at the end if it's a build order or if it's not a build order. But first of all, we're playing a Zerg player. So this part right here, we know that it's Zerg. And so we already have a branch. So then we start off by going for a pylon, and then we send off the probe. This is the intro branch. And then we start off with the forge to create some aggression or just possibilities. And then so that's right there. We get the gateway for the transition, and we send this probe off to this area. Right? So this area right here is a setup just in case they do something different. So I'm branching out, and there's a couple different scenarios. Either this branch right here, they're going for a hatchery at the third instead. Some Protosses cannon rush, and Zergs know that Protosses cannon rush. So some Zergs take their hatchery natural at the third, and that way the Protoss comes in and goes, oh, there's no hatchery. Let me go up the ramp and see what's going on. I'll just macro from here then. And then they don't realize that there's a hatchery at the third. And then they get clueless and they're like, wait, how did he macro? He didn't have a hatchery at the natural. Then you find out it was at the third the whole time. So this probe goes over there just in case it's that build where he goes to builds it at the third. I'll be able to cannon rush that part. Now if it isn't that, then it's gonna be a hatch first, right? It's gonna be a hatch first. And if it's a hatch first, then that's another branch. That means we could deal with it with the cannon rush and choke and at the bottom. And if it's not a hatch first, it's a pool first. And on a pool first, it could be a 12 pool, a 14 pool, or a 16 pool, wherever it is. There's like 3 different pool timings. And so one of them could be any of those. And you play this out in different ways. You play this branch differently, you play this branch differently, you play this branch differently on just the pool part if it's a pool first. Because it's not a pool first and it's a hatch first, we're dealing with either a hatch first at the third or a hatch first at the natural. And so now we're there, right? So now we're like at the part where it's a hatch first at the natural. So then we go over there with our probe. Now in this case, I'm waiting for the probe. Now this is something that I'm doing because I'm random now. Because I'm random, I'm changing it up a little bit because they don't know who I am. If they don't know what race I am, they're still having to worry about what is it, what race is it. And so because of that, usually when they know I'm a Protoss, I go up the ramp and I scout and I do all this stuff for until I get to about 1 minute and 20 seconds. And 1 minute and 20 seconds is when I usually pylon block and cannon rush it, because by that time the hatchery is about 3/4 of the way, or about a little over half, which hurts the Zerg in regards to canceling. When a Zerg wants to cancel a hatchery to change up the build, they want to do it as soon as possible. They don't want to do it at the very end of the hatchery. So we're waiting for the 1 minute and 20 seconds. As you can see, it's like 1-9. Now we're moving in. 14, 16, 17, 18, 20. So now we're at the minute and 20 seconds, which is usually what I do when I do a lap. And then I come over here. So now I do the pylon block. All 3 pylons just in case. I don't keep them non-active. I just cancel it if I need to. So in this situation, there could be a couple different things. Now that we know that it's going to be a hatch first, it's going to be the intro, and then it's a hatch first, so it's going to be this one. It's not going to be the hatch at the third. And so now that it's a hatch first and we blocked the front choke, now we have a couple possibilities. Either the hatchery is going to get canceled because the overlord spots it, and or he doesn't cancel it and he loses the hatchery. So if he loses the hatchery, that's a bad thing, but they don't see it sometimes, or they don't react. Or in this case, he does react and he's making the hatchery, he cancels it. And so that's the 2 different situations. Is he going to cancel? Is he not going to cancel? Alright, so right here, right? So guess what? We have a situation where the hatchery is almost done, and they don't like that. They don't like where it's almost done, because that's going to be like, oh, now I have to cancel it. I almost had the hatchery up. If I knew, I would have canceled earlier and then switched up faster. And so this is a problem for them. And this is the reason why I set it up at 420. I mean at 120, because it's the time that I need to put them at the very last pivotal situation of like, damn it, I don't want to cancel, but I have to. I have no choice. I cancel the pylon up here, and I make a cannon because I see no reaction. So that's also a little branch. This branch right here. So because there's no drone scouting and the overlord's not in the right position, this is a branch as well. And in this branch, I keep the pylons and I cancel one and make a cannon. I normally don't do that if I see a scout. So when it comes to the branch, where now that we know that we're over here with the hatchery, and the hatchery's in that part, we're doing the pylon block. And with the pylon block, you either pylon block it with the cannon in the top, if the drones don't get scouted, the overlords don't get scouted, or you can pylon block only and then just cannon. The problem with that is that if you cannon at the bottom but not at the top, the spine crawlers are going to come over to your side, and then the spine crawlers are going to break down the front of the pylon wall, and then they're going to be able to get an expansion faster. So do you want them to get a faster expansion by making a couple spine crawlers or so and killing the pylons and then all of a sudden depowering the cannon, or forcing you to more cannons? Or do you want to just cancel the pylon because you don't see no drone and you have the cannon potential to just cancel out the hatchery? So that's the way I did it. I said, no, we don't see no drone. We're going to go for the cancel pylon, getting in the cannon, and then start making cannons at the bottom. And so that's what we did. And so cancel, make a cannon, and then quickly go over here to make the cannon. Now that he sees it, and we see the Zerg, the Overlord, now we know most likely, like I said, he's going to cancel it. It makes no sense for him to keep it, but I know it's going to hurt him that he has to cancel it at the very last minute. And that's what we want. We want him to be at the last minute, like I said. And so here's it is. Do you cancel or do you not cancel? Do you lose the hatchery or do you not lose the hatchery? So now that we did that part, now we cancel the cannons because we don't need it. I do keep one to keep this area from being totally damaged because we need a little bit of time. And the fact that, here's the other part. Why do I keep one cannon here? So now we have the part where the hatchery gets canceled. If the hatchery gets canceled and you cancel both of your cannons, guess what? The drone can go back and make a hatchery. And now you delayed your cannons. So when you make them again, they're already delayed again. So that means he could just bust out and break those cannons if he has the lings now. Because he forced you to cancel the cannons and now he made the hatchery again. And you're like, oh, I didn't know he was going to do that. But because I keep the cannon, he can't go back and make a hatchery right there and say, screw you, Protoss. He has to make it somewhere else. And so that's where, that play is. Either he cancels a hatchery and then he goes back and makes the hatchery once you cancel the cannons. Or you keep the cannons, at least one of them, so that you can't cancel the hatchery and then make the hatchery right there and he has to make it somewhere else. So now we're at this stage right here. So then now we're in this situation where I utilize this probe. You see this probe that's over here? This is the sneak probe that comes in waiting for this environment. So when the hatchery comes over here, we have this probe. And so this overlord wasn't sticking around here. Normally I have, this is another branch. Usually in this particular part of the game, there's a part where either the overlord is going to go and check the third and make sure there's nothing going on at the third, or they're going to identify that maybe the threat is right there at the natural and they're going to keep the overlord there and then lose a hatchery. So you could either lose a hatchery, right, not knowing, not scouting with the overlord, or the overlord scouts that there's a cannon going up again at the third, and you wait till the cannons are coming up and then you cancel it again and make it somewhere else. That's the two different situations that usually happen right there. And in this case, the overlord went to the third and found out that I was going to cannon rush over there. So that's where the Zerg decided to cancel again. And, you know, and now we're in this boat. And during that meantime, I'm getting my gases now to set up, and I'm getting my cybernetics core to set up the next transition. This is transitioning already. And now I'm in this boat. What could he do right here? He can cancel, like I said, or not cancel. So what do we do here? Very simple. This is a trick for the hatchery cannon. So whenever you're dealing with the hatchery, you want to make sure that they're, when you cannon rush a hatchery, that they have 7 squares still. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The moment that yellow hits the 7th, that means when you make a cannon, it's going to go up right after the hatchery. If you make it before that, your cannon's going to go up, and then the hatchery can get canceled and he can take off, and then all of a sudden you're left with 2 cannons at his base. You're left with like a cannon right here, another cannon right here. You're like, oh, he canceled at the last minute. I made it too quick. You know, or you cancel it because it's already too late, and you know that you don't want to do that. So that's another branch that ends up happening. You have that situation where do you make your cannons? You know, do you make your cannons at the right time? Do you make the cannons at the right time, or do you make it at the wrong time and he cancels on you and you waste 300, 400 minerals thinking that you're going to kill his hatchery again? So in this case, he cancels the hatchery and you also cancel your cannons because you know that he wants you to waste. So now we know it's not going to be this one. So now cannons are being done at the right time. He has no choice but to cancel. There goes the cancel. And there goes our cancel. Now he can go back over here and make it now, but I have a pylon already, so he doesn't want that. He doesn't want me to waste only cannons. He wants me to waste another pylon and more cannons while he does the hatchery. So there goes the hatchery. Now we're in a different situation. And with time, as the time changes in the game, they are allowed to do certain things on one base. Zerg on one base with standard gas timing are allowed to do certain things after a certain point. So what could they do? They could go Roach Ravagers. They could do Nidus Rush, you know, and those are already 2 problematic situations for you if you're not ready for it. So now that we got to this stage where the Zerg decides to make another hatchery, we could just cannon rush it like we normally do, right? And not even thinking about the fact that the Zerg's actually planning something else in return, and he wants me to waste my money. So either I make the cannons or I don't make the cannons. You know, that's a question right there. Or you make the cannons and a zealot to counter their setup so you don't make too much expense. So what happens here? We go for the cannon zealot. We go for the cannon zealot. And so what happens here, because we don't want to spend too much money, because the Nidus Swarm could kick in any moment, like in regards to like their strategy, or they can bust out and go straight to your base and go with like a bunch of roaches and then kill you because you've been so blinded by wanting to kill cannon the hatchery. Oh, I just want to kill. Oh, cool. He's gonna let me kill this one. Oh, he canceled. Okay, I'm gonna kill this one. All of a sudden, you end up, not knowing what the hell happened, and you get killed. You're like, what? What? A hatchery kicks in. Don't invest the money on this. Get the zealot that we made earlier for this part. That's what the zealot's for. The zealots to just push this out or kill it before you spend too much money, because you could always send the recall for the zealot back home and do a little bit damage to the Nidus worm, if need be, or you can run away and it won't be like a lost cause with the cannon. So the zealot right here is the next part of the play, and the pylon right here is just to say, hey Zerg, if you start making this hatchery, I will cannon rush your ass. I will take the cannon out, and I will whittle it down with the zealot so that you have even worse of a situation. And notice that I have to wait a little bit, but in this case, it's like you can't wait too long, because if you wait too long, there's two situations again in this playbook. If you either wait for the 7 squares, or you go for the cannons right away. If you do a cannon right away, it's gonna be able to deny the hatchery. But if you wait for the 7 squares after the third cancel of a hatchery, or at least the third one, what happens is your cannons might be so late now that if he busts out with the Ravagers to kill the hatchery now, it's gonna be a little hard with only 2 cannons, or even just 1 cannon. So that's why you have to do it right away, because now what you're doing is just making them cancel. You're forcing them to cancel, or you're gonna kill that hatchery if they don't cancel. And it's okay to waste a cannon to just deny the larva, and so that's why I'm doing that. So because of that, I don't want to wait for the 7 squares, because the roaches can come out and deny me, and then all of a sudden keep that hatchery alive, and then start macroing from that hatchery. But with the zealot and the cannon, we can take out the hatchery if he does do that, and he gets there in time. He still loses the hatchery, but we don't invest in staying there for too long. So that's why we stick to the other one, the other branch, where it's like, just make sure you force out that cancel. The earlier the cannon, the more damage it gets, and the zealot's the damage, and all of a sudden, if he does bust out, we're gonna kill this thing real quick. There goes the move out, because he's like, oh shit, they're taking it out already. I want that hatchery. So he really wants to get out, but he's like, I have to wait a little bit. And that's because I'm putting more pressure in this situation, because he knows he wants to keep this one. He wants to keep it. I know he wants to keep it, but I know he can't keep it because I'm not going to let him keep it. And if I waited for the 7 squares, they would come out and they run right over here and they'll take this out. But because it's almost dead, and that's why I doubled down with the cannon, I'm pretty much showing them, hey, I'll take it down. You're in a position that you're not allowed to just keep it. So then I cancel. Job's done. The resources were minimized, and I'm ready for the Stargates. And there goes the roach out. And there goes for the other breakout. Now what the Zerg's doing here is they're trying to depower my pylons so that I can get supply blocks, so I can get units as quick as possible. So the faster they can depower my stuff and take out my supply, it's gonna hurt me in a sense. So that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to hurt my supply. Now that my supply, I'm getting the supply blocked, it hurts a little bit, but it's okay because I went for a double Stargate and 2 void raids. Now in this situation, there's a couple things that you could do. We could wait for 4 void raids, or we can go with 2 void raids to snipe the hatchery that's already delayed. So the hatchery was late because we cannon rushed them, and we know when they broke out. So when they broke out, the drone's gonna come down and make a hatchery, and it takes about a minute to make a hatchery. So the fact that I have 2 void raids going over there before the hatchery goes up means that there's gonna be a lack of spores, and there's possibly going to be a lack of queens, or if there's a queen, it's going to be vulnerable, and that's going to allow you to snipe the hatchery sometimes. So you can snipe a hatchery when it's not being produced yet, because the queens can't inject. They can't inject the hatchery when it's not being finished yet. So you snipe as much as you could, or snipe it, or force a cancel out, because they're gonna make roaches and ravagers to try to bust you. So that's where you kind of go. Do I wait for the void raids, all 4 void raids to move out, or do I go in with 2 void raids and then follow it up with consistent void raid follow-ups? So we went for the snipe the hatchery because we know that hatchery's late, instead of the wait. So you could either wait, and that's another build, another strategy, or you can go in for that hatchery snipe and go for that strategy. So that's what we're doing right there. So we go for the void raids. We know that the hatchery's late. We're rushing over there, and boom, we got the hatchery. Now here you could either, you know, try to aim for the hatchery, but it's already better get the queens, take out the queens. Now in this part right here, you want to, like, if you do prismatic alignment, because I did it versus the hatchery to take it out faster. If you do it to the queen, make sure you hit the escape button so that you don't keep it locked on, because if you go overcharge and prismatic alignment and the queen moves out the way, it's actually faster than the overcharge, the alignment. So that means you have to cancel it so you can be fast. So that's why I cancel. The moment the queen started leaving, I canceled it so that I can follow it. Because once you have it tracked on the queen, you just don't touch anything and let it follow it and kill it. Now here again, once you get them locked down, don't touch anything, let them follow them all the way through. Unless you're getting killed on something. So there you go. Set it and forget it. You can run everywhere where he wants, but it's not going to do anything. Now here's the thing. We saw a Hydralisk den. Well, we could take out the Hydralisk den, slow it down a little bit, and we also are noticing in a little bit that we're getting attacked. My main priority right now is the Hydralisk den. And so now he's attacking me. Take out the spore that's here, and then take out the hatchery. Now, in this situation, you could either go back home right away because you're like, oh shit, they're attacking me, I gotta go back home and recall, and you don't take out the hatchery, or you don't panic and you wait till you take out the hatchery, because you know they're roach ravagers, and the roach ravagers can't do anything to the void raid. So once you recall them back home, they have nothing to contest you with. So as long as you take out the hatchery, when you go back after the roach ravagers, they're not going to have the hatchery that they wanted. But if you recall too early and leave the hatchery, now you're going to go back with spores all over the place, and now you're going to have a harder time to deal with it. So we went for the hatchery into a recall because of that situation. And so we're waiting and being very patient. I set up my void ray for a recall spot. Hatchery's done. Let's recall back home. Let's deal with the problem. Whatever little damage it does, it's going to be cosmetic compared to the problem that they did losing a hatchery. So now that that's going on, now we have our 4 void raids. We're going to move out. So now that we moved out here, some players could decide to just go up the ramp and try to win the game, or you can go over to this side and check if there's a third, which most of the time there is a third, but some people don't check too often. They'll go up there, maybe lose 2 void raids, and then come back and then check that there's a third, and now that there is a third, it's too late to kill it or too late to do damage to it. So that's the other branch that you either do. You either check to the third or you don't check for the third. You try to go all in at that point, or you stay, committed to keeping everything intact. So look for the third, go straight to the main. Which one you want to do? That's going to be another situation. So now that we're here, we're gonna choose look for the third. We're gonna check for the third. So now we're checking for the third, and we're doing damage. And then we found out that there's Hydras, and we gotta take off. We gotta get out of here because the Hydras are gonna just pick us alive. Void Raids don't do good versus Hydras, let alone queens behind them. So we pulled away, right? And in that position, some people could fight it and then they lose the game because they fought it. In other positions, you move away and you have an opportunity to make a play. Now in this case, I'm waiting for the move to make a play. In this, I saw the hatchery, the Hydras up here at the bottom, so I know what they want to do. They want to split up and then try to like force my Void Raids down and then all of a sudden get picked off. So what I'm trying to do, because of what they're trying to do, is just force them to come up the ramp. I'm like, no, you come up here. No, not me. And the Hydras aren't that good in small portions, so you can micro the Void Raids with the Hydras. And the more Hydras you kill, the more they get pissed off because they're down here going, shit, I need to go over there. He's not coming down here. And so I'm like, there goes the Hydras, right? And this Hydra's right here, I saw him on the corner of my eye with the peripheral. Like, oh, he's right there. See? Right here when I go back over here. I saw the Hydras here and I go, oh, okay, so you're splitting. And because you're splitting, you're gonna be vulnerable on one of the sides, and you kind of find out which one has the weaker side. In this case, it's gonna be this side. So what you do is you force the micro on the Hydras, and they're very gas heavy as you keep killing them, so they hate that. And again, they think that I'm gonna be scared of a couple of Hydras. No, not when I know that they're over here. I go over to the dead space and I pick them off little by little. Now that I already killed like 4, 5, 6 Hydras, now he's pissed. Now you know he wants to go up there because shit, this isn't working. Splitting my army and all that, I'm losing my army. So now he's really like trying to like figure out, what do I do? What do I do? And in this situation, I thought he was going up the ramp already because, you know, I didn't see him over here, and I figured I'd stay over here for too long. So I figured it would be time to go over here. And so I thought that's what he was doing. I thought he was over here. Instead, he went to my base. Take out the hatchery. Got the recall again. We already made oracles the moment we saw Hydras. So when we saw Hydras, we could have kept making more Void Raids and maybe lost to Hydras because Hydras are pretty good versus Void Raids in regards to like if they had numbers. But because I have oracles counter Hydras with some backup. And there goes the Hydras trying to do some type of damage, and they're like, oh, he only has Void Raids. If I attack him, he's gonna have to come to me. And so that's where I get my oracles, because look, these Hydras will kill these Void Raids. They'll smash them. But the fact that the oracles are here, these Hydras aren't as good as they think they are. And then GG. So yeah, I wanted to like try to draw it for you guys, because if I didn't draw it, you guys wouldn't understand it as clear in regards to like every decision I have to make in every part of this game. Every little like spot is another branch. Like, oh, what do I do here? 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 If I played like a build order, it would never change. I would always do the same thing but faster and faster. And that's a build order. This is real-time strategy. This is learning from all your games, learning them, and then being able to like think about all the decisions that you should make and make those decisions, and then the game turns out the way based on your decisions, whether it's going to be a loss or a win. But if you lose or win, you're still building these branches and you're getting stronger in these branches. So that's why it's not as important to lose, but it's more important to learn.